My firefighter fiancé left our wedding for his depressed rescue. I was 6 weeks pregnant. Chapter 1. I've always been direct about what I want. So when I found my firefighter boyfriend texting intimately with a strange girl on his phone, I didn't spiral. I simply handed him the device and demanded an explanation. After a long silence, Ethan confessed. She's Sophie. A girl with depression I rescued on a call. I'll admit I felt something for her. But Mia, we've been together since high school. That means something. I promise I'll keep my distance from her. Looking at the sincerity in Ethan's eyes, I swallowed my pain and chose to forgive him. The wedding would proceed as planned. But on our wedding day, his teammate Jake suddenly burst into the church. Captain. Sophie found out about your wedding. She's threatening to jump off a building. The diamond ring clattered to the floor. Ethan bolted for the door like lightning. With tears in my eyes, I shouted after him. Ethan, if you walk out that door today, we're done forever. His steps faltered, but he still left without looking back. He broke his promise after all. The wedding descended into chaos. Guests whispered like needles pricking my eardrums. Both sets of parents rushed over, confused about what had happened. Jake, Ethan's teammate, stood awkwardly to the side, face flushed red. Mia. Sophie has severe depression. Last time she attempted suicide, Captain saved her. She's very dependent on him. Only he can talk her down. It's life or death. Captain had no choice. Please don't blame him. Jake had been with Ethan for 3 years, always respectful, calling me Mia with a warm smile. But now, he couldn't even look me in the eye. I didn't know how much he'd helped Ethan hide from me, or what involvement he had with this Sophie. Dense pain spread through my chest. I felt Ethan's betrayal acutely. Chapter 2. My parents gripped my hands, frantic. What's going on? Isn't he on wedding leave? Who needs him to save them right now? Ethan's parents guiltily called him, muttering. Mia, don't worry. I'll call that boy back right now. If he doesn't return, I'll break his legs. The ring lay on the red carpet, kicked further away by passing feet, like my shattered heart. I stood there in my wedding dress trailing on the ground, like a cloud beaten down by rain. The wedding I'd fantasized about countless times could be this humiliating. The groom abandoning his bride in the middle of a church full of blessings for another girl. 5 whole hours. 108 calls. Ethan didn't answer a single one. I watched my phone screen go dark and light up again, until it finally died completely. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting mottled shadows on the floor, falling on my empty ring finger, cold as ice. Guests gradually dispersed, leaving behind scattered ribbons and half-eaten reception food. I suddenly felt dizzy, everything spinning. The last thing I heard was my mother's panicked crying. When I opened my eyes again, the smell of disinfectant filled my nose. The nurse changing my four saw I was awake and said gently. You're eating for 2 now. You can't get upset anymore. You need to take care of yourself. I stared at the ceiling, tears silently flowing into my hair. From 17 when I accepted Ethan's love letter on the high school field. To college when he took a 20-hour bus ride to surprise me. To the day he became a firefighter, eyes red as he said, I'll protect the people, but I'll always protect you first. These 7 years flashed through my mind like a sped-up movie. I smiled bitterly at the barely concealed excitement on my parents' and Ethan's parents' faces, tears welling in my eyes. How could I explain to them that this 7-year marathon was reaching its end? Chapter 3. At 7 p.m., Ethan finally appeared after being gone for 6 hours. His face was pale, eyes filled with guilt as he looked at me. Mia, I'm sorry. His voice was hoarse. Sophie. I couldn't just let her die. Saving people is my duty. I swallowed the bitterness and couldn't help asking. There are dozens of firefighters. Did it have to be you? She chose today to jump, insisted only you could save her. What was she thinking? Ethan, I'm not stupid. After a long silence, he held my cold hand, voice rough. Mia, in 7 years, I've never asked you for anything. Just this once, I'm begging you not to. Make this public. Don't hurt Sophie's reputation. I'm afraid her condition can't handle that kind of blow. I looked at the pleading in his eyes, my heart squeezed so tight I couldn't breathe. He shouldn't be begging me. He should be apologizing. First reactions don't lie. He hadn't thought about how humiliated I was at the wedding. Hadn't worried about why I was in the hospital. His first words were all about Sophie. Tears fell like broken pearls onto the white sheets, spreading in small dark spots. I struggled to squeeze out one word, fine. He visibly relaxed, then said. Sophie's very unstable knowing I'm getting married. Let's postpone the wedding. I'll stay with her through treatment for now. When she's a bit better, maybe 3 months, just 3 months, we'll have the wedding then, okay? Chapter 4. Ethan's voice held careful hope. I'd waited 7 years. 3 more months shouldn't matter. But looking at the concern for another woman in his eyes, I suddenly felt I couldn't wait even 3 months. The little one in my belly seemed to sense my emotions and moved gently. I touched my stomach, where a 6-week-old life was hidden. Ours, yet seemingly having nothing to do with him now. I slowly pulled back my hand, voice flat as dead water. Ethan. I don't have the best memory, But I remember at 17, you handed me a love letter on the field, so nervous you walked with the same foot twice. I remember the first time you held my hand, palms sweaty, and you didn't let go for 3 blocks. I remember graduation day when you hugged me saying you'd take care of me forever, that you'd make me the happiest bride. All these years, you remembered I don't eat onions or ginger, that I need brown sugar tea during my period, all my little habits. I always thought you cherished me above all else. I looked up at him, tears suddenly breaking through, but today, I can't feel your love anymore. 7 years of memories flooded back. Ethan's eyes reddened too, his throat working as a tear fell. But Mia, Sophie can't be without me right now. That phrase can't be without me shattered my last hope. I looked at him and suddenly laughed through tears, then go. He froze, seemingly not expecting me to say that. But ultimately said nothing and left the room. Chapter 5. The next day, I was packing to leave the hospital. Turning the corner in the hallway, I ran into Ethan. He didn't even see me. All his attention on the girl beside him. The girl wore a hospital gown, face pale, half supported and half carried by him like a frightened deer. So this was the person who made him abandon me at our wedding. My gaze must have been too heavy. Sophie saw me first, instinctively shrinking behind Ethan, fingers tightly clutching his shirt. Only then did Ethan turn and see me, immediately frowning with impatience. Mia, Sophie's emotionally unstable. If you have something to say, say it at home. Don't make a scene at the hospital and scare her. Sophie timidly peeked out, voice barely a whisper. Mia, there's really nothing between Ethan and me, please don't misunderstand. I gripped the prenatal report in my hand, knuckles white, but managed a faint smile. You're overthinking it. I'm just here for discharge procedures. With that, I ignored them and went to pay. Ethan's expression flickered strangely, as if not expecting me to be so calm. Something empty crossed his heart. He reached out to grab me. I instinctively turned and saw a stain on his jacket I hadn't noticed before. His gaze followed mine. Seeing me take off my cardigan, he also removed his jacket to drape over me, but I dodged away. He froze, then hurried after me, trying to take the cardigan. Let me have it. You love this sweater so much, I'll have it cleaned. I shook my head and tossed it directly into a nearby trash can, tone flat. Throw it away. I don't like things with stains. You know I'm particular about cleanliness. Looking at my cold expression, Ethan's smile froze. He knew I wasn't just talking about the sweater, but our relationship. Before he could speak again, I'd already paid and left. Chapter 6. Not far from the hospital, my phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. Don't be mad. I bought those Napoleons from that bakery you mentioned wanting. Remember to accept the delivery. When the delivery arrived, I looked at the familiar pink box and suddenly laughed. He used to buy Napoleons from this place whenever he upset me. I mechanically took a bite. What used to taste sweet now only tasted bitter. That night, Ethan didn't come home. Extracting yourself from 7 years together hurts more than imagined. I lay awake until dawn, then just got up to pack. The matching hoodies in the closet, the photo frames on the shelf, the sticky notes on the fridge. Everything carried painful memories. I remembered the year after graduation when Ethan just became a firefighter, busy beyond belief. But he'd still find me on days off, eyes bright as stars. Mia, when I save enough for a down payment, I'll marry you. 3 years later, he stood before me with the deed and a ring, voice trembling. I did it. A home for you, as promised. The sunshine was perfect that day. I hugged him and cried for so long, feeling like the luckiest person in the world. We painted walls together. Assembled furniture together, filled the balcony with my favorite sunflowers. He said he'd always let sunshine into our home. But now, this home had no room for me. As I sealed the last storage box, dawn was breaking. When the movers came, both sets of parents showed up. I hadn't told them about Ethan, so they still didn't understand why people about to marry were suddenly separating. My parents sighed but didn't push, just said come home whenever you want. But Ethan's mother held my hand, refusing to let go. Mia, please give Ethan another chance. What happened at the wedding? He was just confused for a moment. I said nothing, just told the movers to continue. Just as his mother was wearing out her voice, the door opened. Ethan was back. And he'd brought Sophie with him. Chapter 7. She wore Ethan's jacket, timidly clinging to his arm like a newly adopted kitten. The room fell deathly silent, everyone's eyes fixed on them. Ethan's mother's voice shook. Ethan, did you betray Mia? His father trembled with rage. Who is this woman? Ethan didn't answer, just scanned the empty living room before his gaze landed on me. You're moving out? Yes, I replied calmly. Back to my parents' house. He seemed relieved. Fine. I'll pick you up before the next wedding. He said it casually, then pulled Sophie forward. This is Sophie, a depression patient I rescued on a call. To help stabilize her condition, the department asked me to look after her for a while. His frank attitude made our suspicions seem petty. Sophie smiled sweetly, reaching for Mrs. Brooks' arm. Hello, Mrs. Brooks. Ethan takes such good care of me. He even brought me home for dinner today. Since everyone's here, why don't I cook? Let everyone taste my cooking. Mrs. Brooks looked at me awkwardly. Mia, maybe we should all sit down and talk things through? Before I could refuse, Sophie interjected, eyes glinting with challenge. Mia should stay too. The more the merrier, right? Slap. The crisp sound exploded in the room. I stared wide-eyed as my mother slapped Sophie across the face. Mom. Chapter 8. My mother glared at me with red eyes, voice trembling. I gave birth to you. Don't I know you? You've been with him since 17, now you're 24. 7 years. For him, you quit your job at the design firm to play housewife, learn to cook his favorite sweet and sour fish, even remember where he keeps his socks. If your heart wasn't completely broken, would you leave? I don't need you to marry rich, but today he brought his mistress to humiliate you, and I as your mother can't stand it. If you won't stand up for yourself, I will. My mother's words hit like thunder, making my eyes burn. Sophie covered her face, tears welling but not daring to cry out loud. Ethan immediately shielded her, face dark as storm clouds. Mia. You're an adult and you're tattling to your parents. Before he could finish, I rushed forward and slapped him. Ethan, you're the one who deserves it most. I pulled a paper from the coffee table drawer and threw it at him, a prenatal report. You. Know what I regret most? Ethan picked up the paper. Seeing the words, his pupils contracted. Mia, you're pregnant? I watched the wild joy ignite in Ethan's eyes, watched him rush toward me shouting I'm going to be a dad, and felt nothing but irony. He forgot Sophie was standing right there, forgot his resolve at the wedding, forgot how he'd treated me coldly these past days, as if having a child could erase everything. But those moments of abandonment, those sleepless nights, that shattered trust, how could they just disappear? I pushed him away hard, shouting through red eyes. You're celebrating too soon. This baby yesterday when you came to the hospital. Begging me to protect Sophie, I already scheduled the abortion. Chapter 9. Before Ethan could speak, his mother interjected urgently, no. You've been together 7 years, now there's even a baby. How can you just abort it? Ethan's usually cold face changed drastically. Mia, be reasonable. Don't throw tantrums. I'm not throwing tantrums. I looked straight at him. From the moment you left me at the wedding, we were over. Ethan tried to explain, but Sophie started crying beside him. Mia, it's all my fault. Don't blame Ethan. I was foolish, falling for someone I shouldn't have. I deserve to die. With that, Sophie ran out crying. Ethan's feet shifted slightly, his expression grave as he looked at me. Mia, Sophie's in a bad state. I'm afraid she'll do something stupid. Wait here. We'll talk about the baby when I get back. He was about to chase after her when his mother grabbed him. Ethan, are you trying to kill us? Who's actually your girlfriend? Who's more important? Can't you tell? But you can't wake someone pretending to sleep. Ethan broke free from his mother's grip, frowning. Mom, she's a depression patient. She's a human life. The room fell instantly silent. Ethan glanced at me guiltily, then turned. And chased after her. He probably forgot Sophie was a life, but so was the one in my belly. Outside, rain suddenly poured down. Mrs. Brooks held my hand, closing her eyes. Mia, with this rain, maybe wait until tomorrow to leave? I looked at the rain through the window and shook my head, no need. Let this winter rain be my goodbye to Ethan. Chapter 10. That night I returned to my parents' house. Ethan knelt outside our door in the same rain, staying there all night. The next morning, my mother accompanied me to the hospital. When we opened the door, Ethan's eyes lit up as he struggled to stand. Mia, you're awake. He'd knelt all night, soaking wet and disheveled, eyes bloodshot from exhaustion. I was sick of his pattern of asking forgiveness after the fact. If he really cared, why did he keep abandoning me? Ethan blocked my path to the hospital. His eyes were earnest as he raised his hand in oath. Mia, I've explained everything to Sophie. I've handed her care to other team members. From now on, I won't have any involvement with her. This is the official notice from the department. Look. He handed me his phone, eyes full of stubborn pleading. I took the phone and smashed it on the ground. Ethan, we can't go back. Ethan looked at me in anguish, face twisted with pain. Why? Mia, I promised I'd give you a future. Can't you wait for me? Why won't you trust me? Even now, he didn't understand. Between us, it was never about feelings or trust. It was that our love had been contaminated by a third party. It wasn't pure anymore. I said nothing, about to call security to remove him. He suddenly roared, Mia. Ethan dropped to his knees before me, palm open with the ring that had been abandoned at the wedding. Marry me. Let's get the license now. Give our child a home, please? Honestly, Ethan was excellent. Good-looking, capable, decent family, his parents liked me. We had feelings, we had a child. Maybe I really could pretend that girl who barged in never existed and continue with him. But I couldn't. The love I wanted couldn't tolerate any flaws. Chapter 11. The moment I picked up the ring, his phone suddenly rang. I faintly heard Jake shouting on the other end, bad news. Sophie attempted suicide again. The same trick, performed countless times. Ethan's eyes struggled briefly before he gritted his teeth, don't report her matters to me anymore. He hung up, looking at me hopefully, Mia, accept my proposal, please? I promise I'll be good to you. I couldn't help but laugh, and as I laughed, tears fell. I threw the ring on the ground. He picked it up. I threw it again. His face grew darker. I said softly, some things don't get second chances. You betrayed our 7 years together. I wish you a lonely life. Ethan, I'm the one who doesn't want you anymore. Probably the first time hearing such words from me, he suddenly grabbed my hand, holding me tightly in pain. Mia, don't abort the baby, please. We've hoped for this child for so many years. Can you really bear to? Mia, this is the crystallization of our love. Please, don't be so cruel. Ethan's words brought back memories. Over the years, our favorite mall section was the baby area. We'd imagine life with a baby, laugh holding tiny pink clothes, curiously studying children's products. This little life was something we'd waited so long for. On the road to happiness, we really had been happy. But the current Ethan no longer deserved it. The day of the abortion, I touched my belly, seriously apologizing to this little life, eyes reddening. Baby, I'm sorry. Mommy can't gamble with your future. Chapter 12. News of my abortion reached Ethan's superiors. The investigation team called, earnestly trying to persuade me. Ms. Mia, Officer Brooks is usually excellent. This was truly a momentary lapse. Can't you give him another chance? I was in a taxi to the airport then, city scenes flying past the window. Sorry, the baby's already gone. My voice was calm. I didn't want it born into a family where the father's heart belonged to someone else. The investigation team fell silent, then hung up. I pulled out my SIM card and threw it in the trash, dragging my suitcase into the airport. Ethan somehow got the news and rushed into the departure hall like a madman, clutching a yellowed envelope. Mia, look at this. He shoved the envelope into my hands, voice choked. 7 years ago you wrote this forgiveness coupon, saying as long as I had it, no matter what I did wrong, you'd forgive me once. Inside was a childish watercolor of 2 stick figures holding hands, with crooked writing, forgiveness coupon for Ethan, valid forever. I've kept it in my pocket all these years, terrified of losing it. He grabbed my wrist, eyes red. We've loved for 7 years, with so much future ahead. Don't go, please. 7 years of feelings wrapped around my heart like vines, how could they break cleanly? I turned away, breaking free from his grip, walking step by step toward security. Maybe I couldn't completely let him go yet. But I knew nobody in this world couldn't live without someone else. Time heals everything. Someday, we become the most familiar strangers. Chapter 13. 3 years passed in a flash. These 3 years, I started my own design brand, living peacefully and steadily. News of Ethan came sporadically through my parents. At first, they were vague, afraid of hurting me. Later, seeing I'd truly moved on, they slowly told the truth. The day I left, Sophie threw a fit because Ethan handed her care to teammates. She cried seeking Ethan but was coldly sent away. The story spread through the fire station. Sophie faced daily gossip, life becoming increasingly difficult. Finally one day, she caused a scene at the station, claiming Ethan had sexually harassed her, taken photos of her secretly, and that she was being targeted for rejecting him. Security footage did show Ethan often pointing his phone at Sophie. Combined with our well-known long relationship, his actions looked like harassment. Ethan was demoted but still assigned to handle Sophie's psychological counseling. Someone already interested in Sophie couldn't resist her daily apologies and advances. Within the first year after I left, they got together. My parents always worried I'd be upset when telling me this, repeatedly saying men change quickly, it's normal. I'd actually expected it. From the moment I turned and walked through security, I knew we were truly over. As for who replaced me by his side, it was just a different name. But nobody expected this to be the beginning of Ethan's karma. Chapter 14. 6 months after Ethan and Sophie married, Sophie completely changed. Her gentle, delicate facade vanished, replaced by domineering willfulness. If Ethan was even 10 minutes late, she'd turn the house upside down. At first she only fought behind closed doors. Later when Ethan hid at work, she'd storm the fire station. Ethan's job was inherently dangerous. Every second in a fire required focus. I never dared disturb him on calls. Sophie did the opposite. She demanded instant replies to texts, required him to answer calls during emergencies, even demanded he skip urgent calls to have dinner with her. Ethan had no choice but to repeatedly stop work to placate her. Within a year, he went from frontline firefighter to desk duty. But Sophie still wasn't satisfied, especially after getting pregnant. Ethan was often called home from standby duty for reasons like craving dumplings from across town or can't sleep without your stories. The second winter after marriage, heavily pregnant Sophie came to make another scene. They argued in the hallway. Sophie cried, accusing him of not cherishing what he had. Ethan finally snapped, shouting, "Can't you be reasonable?" brushing away her grabbing hands. A glass on the table crashed to the floor, shards splashing near Sophie's feet. Stepping back, she lost balance and fell hard. Blood flowed down her dress, staining the fire station floor red. By the time the ambulance arrived, the baby was gone. Sophie was fundamentally damaged. Doctors said she'd likely never conceive again. After that, they became the station's celebrities. Small fights every 3 days, big fights every 5, everyone avoiding them. When my parents told me this, I was changing my daughter Annie's diaper. Sunlight through the window warmed the baby's face. Karma, I suppose, my mother sighed. I felt nothing. After all, from the moment he abandoned me at our wedding, his life had nothing to do with mine. Chapter 15. The day I returned home, the airport was bustling. Just as I pushed my luggage cart out, I saw Ethan standing in the crowd, holding red roses, staring straight at me. 3 years apart, he'd lost weight, bloodshot eyes barely hidden, looking exhausted and worn. Mia. He approached, voice trembling slightly, offering the flowers. Welcome home. I didn't take them, just smiled, thanks, but no need. His hand froze midair. Before he could speak, a shrill voice came from behind, Ethan. I knew you'd be here. Sophie rushed over, hair disheveled, tear tracks on her face. Seeing me, her eyes instantly went red. Mia? You dare come back? Ethan frowned, pushing her away. Haven't you caused enough trouble? I'm causing trouble? Sophie laughed as if hearing the world's biggest joke, pointing at my nose. You want to fight with me over her, don't you? Who desperately chased me back then? Now seeing your old flame return, you want to dump me? Ethan got a headache from her shouting and yelled, can you stop being unreasonable? They started fighting again. When spit nearly hit my face, Annie suddenly poked her head out of Adrian's arms, speaking in her baby voice. Mommy, they're so loud. Adrian held the child tighter, looking at me. Let's go. Mom and Dad are waiting outside. He was a senior I met while studying in London. We connected at a design exhibition. Later discovering we both loved vintage shopping and collecting old stamps, we naturally came together. Married 2 years, Annie was 18 months old, chubby like a little dumpling. Ethan's gaze fell on Adrian's hand around my waist, then shifted to Annie's face, pupils sharply contracting. Is this your child? Chapter 16. Yes, my daughter, Annie. I stroked the child's head, tone natural. This is my husband, Adrian. Adrian nodded at him in greeting. Ethan's face gradually paled, lips trembling. You're married? Yes, we had the wedding in London. Then your social media. He stopped mid-sentence, probably remembering I'd blocked him long ago. The alternate account he'd secretly followed for 3 years only ever showed 3 days of blank posts. I changed my handle, I said softly. Sophie suddenly burst out laughing, tears streaming. Ethan, look. She's already settled with a family while you're still pining. You think she came back for you? Keep dreaming. Ethan ignored her, just staring at me, the light in his eyes dimming bit by bit like rain-extinguished charcoal. When? 2 years ago. Adrian answered for me, tone flat, but protectively firm. We should go. As he led me away by the hand, I heard Ethan say something low behind us, too quiet under Sophie's crying. Walking out of the airport, sunshine on our bodies, Annie reached out to grab my hair, giggling. Adrian kissed my forehead, tired? I shook my head, suddenly remembering a song I'd heard on the radio days ago. Later, finally understood through tears, some people, once missed, are never there again. I'd understood long ago. Missing someone isn't regret, it's liberation. Ethan's story ended the moment I walked through security 3 years ago. We had a passionate past but were destined not to share a future. This was good enough. Chapter 17. That day, our family of 3 left the airport laughing and talking, nobody giving Ethan and Sophie's drama another thought. Past people, past events, should be left behind. But that afternoon came news of Sophie's suicide attempt. Ethan initially thought it was another manipulation tactic and ignored it. Not until a colleague came to deliver documents did they find her already collapsed in a pool of blood in the bathroom, no longer breathing. The colleague called police then rushed to Ethan's workplace like a madman, slapping him in front of everyone. You knew she was emotionally unstable. Why didn't you watch her? She almost killed herself for you before, and now she's really dead. Are you satisfied? Ethan, if you don't love someone you can break up. Why drive them to death? The colleague screamed with red eyes, pouring out 3 years of Sophie's grievances. The workplace buzzed with gossip. Nobody would talk to Ethan anymore, even avoiding him in hallways. The incident was too big. Combined with Ethan's frequent dereliction of duty and transfer to desk work, management issued termination notice. Ethan's parents cried outside the building for a whole day. The story spread through the entire neighborhood. Even grocery store aunties gossiped behind his back. When my parents told me this, I was peeling an apple for Annie. The peel formed one long unbroken ribbon. He chose his own path, I cut the apple into small pieces for my daughter. From the day he made that choice, he should have known this day would come. Those who betray must eventually pay for their choices. I didn't ask about Ethan again, booking Disney tickets for Annie. The next morning, our family of 3 headed to the park. On the carousel, Annie smiled like a flower. Adrian stood below taking photos, sunlight on him warm and steady. Chapter 18. Epilogue, Ethan's POV. When I found out Mia was pregnant, my heart felt weighted anticipation on one side, the fresh excitement of Sophie on the other. 7 years with Mia felt like lukewarm water. After drinking it so long, I wanted something stronger. Sophie was that strong drink, intense, stimulating. Not until Mia said she'd abort did I panic. But after standing in the rain outside her building all night, she never came down. Later I thought, she was so smart, she must have seen I had feelings for someone else long ago. Just never said anything. The day she actually had the abortion, I hid in the hospital stairwell, feeling relieved. 7 years of commitment felt like a rope choking me. With her gone, I finally felt free. I told myself once I'd had my fun, I'd win her back. She loved me so much, she'd definitely forgive me. The early days with Sophie were indeed fresh. She'd act cute, make demands, cling to me like a kitten, things Mia never did. But after the novelty wore off, only irritation remained. She controlled me, checked my phone, made scenes at work, like a piece of gum I couldn't shake off. When she got pregnant, I was actually somewhat happy. I thought maybe a child would stabilize things, maybe I could be a good husband and father again. But that day she found Mia's photos on my phone, came to make a scene at work, fell and bled so much. The doctor said she'd never conceive again. I felt nothing, even thought it maternal complications. I waited for Mia to return for 3 years. These 3 years, I grew increasingly cold to Sophie. Her tears, her pleas, I ignored them all. I kept thinking when Mia returned, I'd divorce Sophie. Mia was the one I could spend a lifetime with. Sophie was just an interlude. Seeing Mia walk out of the airport, my heart nearly jumped out. She was more beautiful than before, her temperament changed, like carefully polished jade. Chapter 19. I approached with roses. The words I'd practiced countless times were coldly deflected. I wasn't afraid. Mia was always sharp-tongued but soft-hearted. But that crazy Sophie charged out again. I couldn't help pushing her, thinking I'd divorce when we got home. Then that man walked over. Mia smiled, introducing him. This is my husband, Adrian. The little girl in her arms, eyes just like hers, shyly called her mommy. In that moment, I felt clubbed over the head, ears ringing. She was married, had a child. Her life had moved on long ago. Only I remained stuck, dreaming of reconciliation. Sophie cried, asking if I regretted it. I said yes, regretted not cutting ties with her sooner. I meant it, but she probably misunderstood, cutting her wrists that day. When we found her body, I stood at the bathroom door. My first reaction was surprisingly, finally free. But later, I kept dreaming of her covered in blood, asking, Ethan, why don't you love me anymore? Also dreaming of Mia, of her final look at me, calm as if viewing a stranger. I started drinking, talking to the empty house when drunk. I thought, if I hadn't pursued Sophie, if I'd stopped Mia from leaving that day, if that child still existed. But there were no ifs. Mia was right. Some people, once missed, are never there again. Standing on the 28th floor rooftop, the wind was strong, I could see far. I seemed to see Mia and Adrian flying kites with Annie, the family of 3 laughing happily. The next second the kite string broke. I became that kite. When media reported my death, Mia turned off the TV and calmly tied a bow in her daughter's hair. That's good too. This way, she'd never have to remember a terrible person like me again. The end.